Fantastic. Welcome along, everybody, to today's online BTRM information session, or Certificate in Bank Treasury Risk Management information session. With myself, Jeff Brown. Just a very quick introduction. I've been doing these programs for a good few years now, and we're hoping that by the end of this information session, you'll have a thorough overview of not only the syllabus of the program, but the entire, all elements of the BTRM program. This is, we had our 10th anniversary very recently, which was a lot of fun, not just with staff members and faculty, but also BTRM alumni, a few BTRM alumni, which was fantastic. And Moorad Choudhry, Professor Moorad Choudhry, who has had many years' experience, not only in the world of academia, but also as a market practitioner in the financial services sector. He spent many years in extremely senior positions, including CEO. And he's going to be taking you through this program, all the elements of this program, which he designed and put together and cobbled together all the faculty members. They are extraordinary. They're a world-renowned faculty. And just to take you through what we're actually going to be going through today specifically. Why is the BTRM beneficial? How is it beneficial to you? We'll also take you through the history of the BTRM program and how it's evolved over the years. It's evolved a lot, actually, over the years. We'll take you through who the faculty members are, how they've been chosen to deliver on this program. We'll talk about the candidate profiles, which is extremely important. They're important in terms of your professional background or academic background. You need to have a suitable background in order to be able to do this program. We'll take you through the entire BTRM journey, which starts today. For some of you, it started before today. If you've been researching the program, if you've read the brochure, if you've been through our website and so on. We will then take you through arguably the most important part of the BTRM, which is the syllabus. So this is the content of the program. This is really the knowledge that we want you to acquire, the skill set that we want you to acquire during the course of these 6 months, by the end of which you should feel, as many alumni feel, I'll talk about the alumni towards the end of the presentation, as many alumni feel very, very well equipped in this space. We will then talk a little about the BTRM certification, who accredits the BTRM program, and some of the testimonials about the program. We'll also talk about BTRM alumni, whether you would like to have a study partner, which can be incredibly helpful. And we'll also talk about the help desk, the BTRM help desk, which is essentially the portal. Moorad will take you through that. Okay, Moorad, I think I will hand straight over to you and
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Appreciate that. Afternoon to you. Afternoon, everybody. Welcome. So thank you for joining us on this information session, our every once in a while information sessions to talk about the BTRM. We've just had the introduction from Jeff about what it is. So what is the program actually about? The teaching, ALM, asset liability management, core discipline in banking, one that must be mastered by every bank. Why do I say that? Because when I was a student in finance and then also a professional, doing my professional qualifications, one would be in a bookshop as a university student or a practitioner, and the business section would be chock full of books all about derivatives and exotic products like that, which I was reading The Economist the other day, are dealt with by less than 3% of the world's banks. And yet try and find a textbook on asset liability management and one would struggle. It's a core discipline. Every single bank has to manage its balance sheet for capital and liquidity, which is why I think the BTRM may be of some use to at least 2 or 3 individuals in every bank around the world, because every bank's got to manage its balance sheet. That was really, for me, the driving force of why I think the industry globally needs teaching and upskilling in this space. And we've seen every once in a while that when you get the balance sheet wrong for mismanagement of asset liability or the mismanagement of the ALM process, banks fall over, whether it's in 2008 with Citibank and Royal Bank of Scotland and Lloyds Bank, or in 2023 with Silicon Valley Bank and First Republic and a couple of others. So very core discipline. What is the BTRM doing about it? It's a 6-month part-time course, graduate level, what in the UK we call level 7, so it's actually master's level qualification. It's a graduate level qualification. Takes 6 months, equivalent to 1 semester's worth, 300 hours of learning that would be in the UK, and the certificate is graduate level. Designed by practitioners, aimed at practitioners, led, developed and orientated towards practitioners. It's not an academic qualification. There is a little bit of theory in it, but it's really all about practice rather than theory. Okay, you need a bit of theory. One needs a bit of theory, but it's not a theoretical course. It's for practitioners. In other words, we want every student to come away from a lecture. We have lectures 1, 2 or 3 evenings per week, depending on which week it is. We want students to come away from that and take what they learned the night before or the day before and apply it in their day job. And that's irrespective of what department they're in. Okay, so it's designed for people who work in bank balance sheet management, whether they work in the Treasury department, in finance, in second line of defense within the CRO's office, or indeed in the first line within corporate banking or money markets. Okay, on to the next slide. Right, so what's its history? So as you've just heard from Jeff, are we going to take the questions? We can take the questions as they come. Let's call up the questions here. Let's take them as they come. What do you mean by it's equivalent to a master's? Does that mean it's equivalent to a master's degree? No, it means it's equivalent to a master's level. If you go to a university here in the UK and you do 1 semester's worth of a master's level program, one gets a graduate certificate. If you do 2 semesters full time, it's a graduate diploma. And if you do 3 semesters, it's a graduate degree, a master's degree. So if the BTRM had 900 hours of teaching and learning rather than 300, it would be a master's degree. It's a master's level certificate. It's a graduate level qualification, postgraduate. Can one do in a self-paced mode? Only if one applies for the self-study pack. Students who enroll on the BTRM have 6 months. It's a 6-month course. Think of it as attending a university course for 6 months. You start in month 1 and in month X you sit the exam. So it's not self-paced. If you wanted to be self-paced, you would apply for the self-study package and then you would sit the exam when you want to sit the exam. Right, back to the slides. There's the history. Started in May 2014. Me and Neil Fowler sitting in the offices of 7 City, which I believe Mr. Brown you're familiar with. What's that? Was it in Chiswell Street, Wilson Street? I forget. In the City of London, and we decided this would happen, and it did happen, and ever since then we've been building parts to it. As you can see now, the current cohort is cohort 19. Cohort 20 will start in October of this year. Why does it keep, why do I keep, there we go, right. Benefits, graduate level. Thank you for the question on that. I hope we've made that clear. Internationally deployed and taught. I don't know about the renowned bit. It demonstrates your commitment to your career development by taking it. A 6-month program, 2 cohorts per year. The lectures are delivered live from our training suite. If you happen to be a UK or certainly a London-based student, we have a lecture suite in Canary Wharf in London, East London, where the lecturer would sit in, where the lecturer will stand up and deliver the lecture, not all of them, the UK-based ones, and you'd be in the room listening to the lecture. That doesn't happen for all of them because half our faculty are abroad, but we do stream those lectures live 5:30 on evening UK time, but they are of course also recorded. Most of our students are outside the UK time zone, and they would be watching, not necessarily watching real time, they'd be watching the recorded lecture in their own time. Practitioner orientated. Our faculty is something I'm very proud about. We're all current or former practitioners. I'm going to show you a slide on that in a second. And we emphasize lifelong learning. Jeff talked about the portal. We've got the student forum, which is the online question and answer a portal, if you like. You post your comments and your questions and your queries and your challenges on there, and the faculty would enter into discussion with you about that. And that is open to alumni. We've got former students, BTRM certificate holders from a few years back, who will still post the odd question on the forum, and we'll be engaging with them. So it's lifelong learning that we emphasize. We're very proud to be partnering with a well-regarded European university, the University of Northwestern Switzerland. They have partnered with us for the last 3 years, and we were just talking about the graduate qualification. Your certificate has the FHNW, the acronym. It refers to University of Northwestern Switzerland. It will have their badge on your certificate. So the certificate is awarded to you. You're assuming you pass the exam and you become a certificate holder. The certificate is awarded to you by both the BTRM and FHNW. So we're very proud of this partnership. It recognizes that there is a university badge on this qualification. The faculty, I mentioned I was very proud of the faculty. It's well over 20. We're approaching 30 lecturers actually from around the world. If you look at the website or download our brochure, you'll see the faculty in glorious Technicolor described there. We've got I think it's 28, 29 now on the faculty. They're all, as I mentioned, either former or current practitioners within different aspects of banking and finance. They are specialists in their field, and you will be learning from people who've actually done what they're teaching in their day job. And I think this differentiates us from just about every professional qualification I can think of. Certainly all the ones that I've taken in my life, in my career, the professional qualifications I've taken where the person teaching me hadn't actually done that for a living in his or her day job. They were just instructors. Now, there's no disrespect to that. I'm not taking it away from that. But just imagine the value of being taught a topic by someone who has actually done that job for a living and faced the challenges and apply the solutions that they'll be talking about. So all our faculty are actual current or former practitioners, and they are from around the world. It's a veritable United Nations of faculty in terms of its diversity and from around the world. In terms of its diversity, we're very proud of that diversity as well as the fact that they are experts in their field. Alexandros, as a student, how long are the courses available? Anytime or only the 6 months? I'm not sure I understand that question. So the lectures are delivered. There is either 1 or 2 lectures every week. I think on a couple of weeks there are 3 lectures in a week, so we like to keep you busy. So over a 23-week period, there is either going to be 1, 2 or 3 lectures every week, and they are all recorded, so you'll watch those either live, and of course you can watch the recording as often as you want. The lectures are available to you during that 6-month program. At the end of the 6 month is the exam. The exam is held on one day at the end of the cohort, and you are obliged to take that exam on that day. So everyone takes the exam on the same day. It's an online exam. Unless you are based in the UK, United Kingdom students actually come to our exam centre in London, and they sit the exam with old-fashioned pen and paper and hard copy. All other students around the world take it online at their desktop, all on the same day. So everyone in that cohort sits the exam at the end of that cohort. I hope that's answered your question, sir. Candidates, so each cohort has always seen their it's old age. I'm stumbling on my words, guys. Help me out. Right, I've fixed it. Each cohort, there's always a few more students, which we're very proud about. Okay, so we've been growing bit by bit for the last 10 years. Cohort 19 is underway. I think it's got more students on that than we've ever had, which is good to see from around the world. We've had students from over 60 different countries take the BTRM. I've got some questions here again. Is there only one final test, or do we have small quizzes during the program? You do have small quizzes during the program. I'll show you the breakdown of the syllabus. It's 5 modules. There are tests, online tests, multiple choice at the end of each module. However, they don't count towards your award. The award is only the final examination. Okay, so there's no coursework waiting in the exam. It's in the final result. It's just the examination. But there are module tests at the end of each module. In the case of the self-study pack, does the overall program timeline remain the same? 6 months, or can one take more time? Just to be clear, if I wasn't clear earlier, I'll just clarify now. The self-study pack, with respect to the earlier question that we just saw, that's in your own time. So you can sit the exam. You can sit any exam. Well, let's be clear. So you will get the self-study pack. You will then study in your own time, and then you will elect which exam you want to sit. Exams are sat every April and October. So if we if we just imagine you took the self-study pack now, it's July. You can sit the exam in October, this coming October. You will tell us when you want to sit the exam, or you can sit the exam in the following April, or you can sit the exam in the following October after that. That's entirely up to you, okay? There's no time limit for self-study students, okay? Although in my experience, most of them have finished it within a year. I don't think we've ever come across a student that was a self-studying student from more than a year ago, but in theory, you've got that that choice. I hope that's answered your question.
Can I add to that more?
Please go ahead.
Just quickly, because I think I know where you're coming from, Alexandros, in terms of do we have to do it in the 6 months, or is there flexibility? So just to say that the vast majority of students who do this program, whether it's via the self-study pack, which is few and far between, to be honest, or if it's on the full course, most complete it within 6 months. Because it's also a very enjoyable program, genuinely enjoyable. But there is flexibility. So if anything comes up, with regards to work commitments or personal family commitments, then you do get to, defer to the subsequent program, whether you're doing the full course or the self-study pack.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. I appreciate that correction. My apologies, everybody. That's quite right. One can defer that cohort's exam one time. So if you were in one cohort and the exam, you don't want to take it at the end of that cohort, you can defer it once. Okay, so that would mean you would take the exam 6 months later. That's the extension one is allowed. Thank you very much, Jeff. My apologies for the error. Jasvinder, you asked about that. Yes, you would have one defer. That would add 6 months to the time that you would have to before you could take the exam. Can we take a break between both the stages that must be taken together? The stages are simply two halves of the same cohort. The lectures all follow one after the other. So the short answer to that is no. You can take a break yourself, but that would mean you wouldn't have you wouldn't have been attending the lectures in the second half of the program, and you probably wouldn't be ready to sit that cohort's exam, in which case you can defer to the following cohort's exam. But there isn't a break between the two stages, no. Will the lectures be available even after the course is over and the exam is done? Well, that's a good question. In theory, yes. I'm not sure why you'd still want to watch them after you've got this piece of paper in your hand, but I can see where you're coming from. Absolutely. If you want to reference them later, the lectures are available to you in your portal pretty much forever, really. So the short answer to your question is yes. Do you recommend a CFA charter holder do this? Why? What additional things CFA charters will earn? What a great question. Thank you very much. I would recommend a CFA charter holder to do this if they are in this field. If they are working in the field of bank balance sheet risk management, anything to do with capital management, liquidity and funding risk management, interest rates, interest rate trading, interest rate risk management, foreign exchange risk management, if they are working in any field of ALM or balance sheet management, I would recommend them to do this, because the CFA, and I'm familiar with the CFA does not teach these things. No disrespect to them, they teach a whole load of other things, but they don't teach balance sheet risk management. What additional things will the CFA charter holder learn? In fact, I would like to direct you to the brochure, when you have a moment, where there is actually, as part of the FAQs, towards the end, in the brochure, we ask the question, why consider what does the BTRM teach that, and there's a whole host of other qualifications that we list there, the GARPS FRM, the Premier, the ALMA, the Diploma and the BALM, the BALM, the Cert Balm, the ACT, the CFA, and I list a number of topics just by way of example that aren't covered in any of these. For example, centralized clearing for derivatives, collateral management principles, the derivatives XVAs, they might be covered to a certain extent, but all those together aren't covered. Funds transfer pricing, bank, FTP, they're not covered in these other qualifications. So if the CFA charter holder is working within this field, I would recommend it because it would benefit them, and they would learn additional things that aren't taught in the CFA. And I'm familiar with the CFA syllabus, so I know for a fact they don't teach some of these topics that I just mentioned. So I hope that's answered your question. Do self-paced students...
I'll very quickly, sorry, Moorad, just to very quickly add to that with regards to CFA charter holders. So we have actually had discussions in recent months with the CFA Institute about the BTRM program. So there is a high percentage of people who do the BTRM program are CFA charter holders, and they therefore are entitled to a discount. So Nafiz, if you are a CFA charter holder, can you email me separately, and that way I can let you know what the discount is for CFA charter holders.
Jeff, never miss a trick, my friend. Never miss a trick. Thank you. Right. Now, so thank you for that question. I appreciate. Do self-paced students have access to recorded lectures? Jeff, can you answer that one, please?
They have not got access to the recorded lectures. So again,
I didn't think so.
Yeah, in the brochure, you'll see that there's a page in the brochure where it separates what you do get access to from what you don't get access to.
Yeah.
So the full. Yeah, go on, Moorad.
It's just to say, it is in the brochure. The self-study students receive the student handbook, which is essentially the syllabus content. The examination is based on that, and a copy of the core textbook, which is Principles of Banking. And now, our self-study students have, as far as I can remember, I don't know 100% that they've passed the exam. All the material you need to sit the exam is in those two texts. So you receive the textbooks, and if you look in the brochure, as I said, there is a comparison of what the self-study students get. They get the handbook, they get the access to the lifelong learning library, and they get access to, in the Cortex website, sample templates, and they will also see past examination papers they'll get access to past papers ahead of the examination. However, they also get the lecture slides. They get the lecture slides, the PowerPoint slides, but not the actual recorded lectures. So we should be clear on that. They don't get access to the actual lectures from the faculty. Any financial institutions affiliated with the BTRM? Yes, the University of the University of Northwestern Switzerland is a partner of ours, so it's more than an affiliation. It's a proper partnership. It's a partnership. In terms of affiliation, we are accredited by my own professional association in the UK, the Chartered Institute of Securities and Investment. They endorse our program. The Association of Corporate Treasurers, they have endorsed and accredited our program, and the American Bankers Association. If you meant any FIs as in banks, no, we don't have any affiliations with banks, but we do with other learning institutions. Alexandros, you're welcome. Thank you. Anyone who's completed FRM from GARP will be benefited from the BTRM. Again, I'm familiar with the GARP. I hold the FRM myself. And absolutely, again, similar to the question I gave with regard to CFA, there is a lot of technical content in the BTRM specifically to do with ALM and balance sheet management that isn't in the GARP syllabus. For example, intraday liquidity management. Intraday liquidity risk is something that clearing banks in every country in the world have to manage, and it's quite a serious area of balance sheet management. There's Basel guidance on it. You don't get that in the GARP. That's just one example. There's quite a lot in the syllabus of the BTRM that is not in GARP syllabus. Now, again, if you are working within any aspect of balance sheet risk management in a bank, whether it's in treasury or finance or risk or in the front office, then it will benefit you. If you're not, then the further technical information that you will learn, the technical knowledge that you will learn, may not be necessarily relevant to your day job. So in which case I would say you benefit less. But if you're working in that field, you will definitely benefit from the BTRM, even if you hold the FRM, because GARP doesn't cover much of what is in, for example, modules 4 and 5. Again, I mentioned liquidity. What about capital, ICAP, and capital adequacy process, liquidity adequacy process, recovery planning, resolution planning? These aren't covered in the GARP. I mean, and nor should they be. I mean, the GARP is specifically a broad-ranging risk management qualification. It wouldn't cover the technical areas that bankers specifically have have to questions are coming thick and fast.
Very quickly,
go ahead, Jeff.
Very quickly, I'll add to Perak's question with regards to financial institutions affiliated with the BTRM. They are, insofar as they've chosen. There are quite a lot of financial institutions who have chosen to us to be preferred suppliers. So the BTRM is a preferred supplier for quite a lot of financial institutions, and that includes corporate agreements with those organisations.
No, that's a fair point, but I mean, unless I'm corrected, I don't think that's what the question meant. I think they meant an official affiliation, like recommendation, endorsement. But to your point, we are on the supplier list of quite a large number of tier one banks, high street banks, G-SIFI banks, right? I mean, I'm not going to name them, but I know. I mean, if you look at the brochure, we name just a sample of the banks that have sent their students to us. Jeff, through tireless wearing out of shoe leather, has also got us on the list of quite a few G-SIFI banks, systemically important banks. But I think what you meant, Prerak, I think you meant actual formal affiliation. No, we don't. To be honest, I'm not sure if we would want to do that because it might compromise a kind of independence. But we're very happy to be affiliated with academic and teaching institutions, and we're very happy to be on supplier lists of banks. How much complex or difficult would this course be for a person who is not from a financial background, like someone like me with a computer science background and working as a technical analyst in ALM department? Now, Harsha, you will be very happy to know that in every cohort from cohort 1 onwards, we have had a smattering of people who work in business analyst roles in between, say, the front office and IT, within finance, or within product control, within business analysis, who have taken the BTRM, precisely because they talk to people in their day job who are in this space. They will be talking to Treasury people, CROs, they'll be talking to people in that space. There'll be a bridge in between IT and ops and the front office, and they take the BTRM to help them do their day job. So all I can say is it's certainly, they passed the exam. So I'm imagining it's not too complex or difficult. If you have a computer science background, there is this is not a quants qualification. If anyone's interested in a quants qualification, Mr. Brown has over 10 years experience working with the Certificate of Quantitative Finance, now owned by Fitch Learning or Moody's, I always forget. Fitch Learning. Now that's a quantitative analyst qualification. There is some numerical analysis here, but it's more arithmetic than pure mathematics. This is not deliberately so a quant qualification. So I would say, given that we've had people from just with your exact specific background on every cohort for the last 10 years, I'm sure it would not be too complex or difficult for you. Is there any discount for FRM certificate holders? Well, there you go. There's one for CFA. What, Jeff, back to you. Is there one for FRM holders?
There is indeed. So Jaswinder, if you want to, again, if you email me separately, I'll let you know what the discount is for FRM holders. And again, this is a result of discussions that we've had with GARP, which resulted in a discount being implemented for anyone, any FRM holders joining the BTRM program.
Fantastic.
There is not, however, one for ACI dealing certificate holders.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that knowing what I know about your energy levels, Jeff, I'd like to think that's on your pad to talk to them, to get some affiliation with them so they'll give a discount for ACI holders. Okay.
Not just ACI, but plenty of others. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry to say that, Nathaniel, but at this time, no. But hopefully, Jeff, and he's, like I said, I didn't use that expression lightheartedly. He's an energetic man, so you never know. Any day now, that will be a discount. But for the time being, no. Is there any rule to keep this certificate after being approved for the test? Time valid 0. For example, approved 724 up to 726. You need to go. Right. I understand what your question refers to, Louise. Forgive me if I've pronounced your name wrong. I understand what your question refers to. There is no such requirement. You're referring to continuing professional development to maintain a charter holder. I've got the same with CFI. I've made up a new qualification. CISI. There is a fellow. You can have fellowship by passing the exams, and then you've got chartered fellow, which you are awarded if you maintain CPD, continuous professional development, every year, which I have to fill in a load of logs and blah, blah, blah. The BTRM is not. The BTRM is more like an academic qualification. So in that respect, don't get me wrong, it's not an academic qualification. Having emphasised its practical nature, its practitioner nature, one of the few things it has in common with a university awarded qualification is that it's permanent. You pass the exam, you get the certificate. We frame it, we hang it on the wall. If you're anything like me, that was a long time ago now, 40 years ago now. It's permanent. It doesn't need renewals or updates to complete credits, etc., to get points. So no renewal necessary. It's not like that. I think that is all the questions for now. When you say there's a practitioner-developed exam, should I assume that syllabus will be delivered through examples in Excel or some other language? Well, the syllabus is delivered in an old-fashioned lecture style with PowerPoint slides and and a straight lecture. However, individual specific lectures will demonstrate something on Excel. For example, we have the ALM simulation from Peter Eisenhart, an old friend of mine for over 20 years now, from our JP Morgan days. He demonstrates something on Excel. One or two of the illustrations on reporting will use Excel, but it's not a Excel-based course. No, there are templates on the core textbooks website that are in Excel. For example, the yield curve lecture is demonstrated using PowerPoint illustrations. There are two lectures on the yield curve, and you would go to the website for the core text, and there's a downloadable Excel model on cubic spline and the Svensson 94 model in Excel. But the course is not delivered in Excel. Okay, when I say practitioner driven, what I mean is all the topics are what you would actually do in real life. It's the opposite of an academic one. So I took a degree in I took when I was doing my undergrads and postgrads and subsequent academic work, everything I learned, I never applied any of it in a bank. So that's what I mean by practitioner driven. What you learn, you will actually apply, but it's not delivered over Excel. Okay, fantastic. We've had a good run of questions. I'm going to go back to the slides. There you go. I was mentioning the community. We've over 60 countries now that our students have been based in. It's a genuine global community, and we're very proud of that, by the way. That's something I'm personally very, very excited about. Just a handful of the banks that have employed where our students have been employed at. Again, you can see they're from the very large to the very small. They're from all around the world. They're from G7 economies, developed economies. It's genuinely very diverse background of the employing institutions. The BTRM journey, Jeff mentioned at the start, you've already started it. Here we are on this conversation. We've started it already. You register for the course, you get the course materials, which are described in the brochure. Please download the brochure from the website. There are 4 textbooks together with the student handbook. They are the textbooks, nothing else. So it's not oodles and oodles of text that you need to learn from. You'll You'll attend the lectures in your own time or in real time or both. And then you'll have in week 26 of the course, there is the exam, okay, which, as I said, is written on the same, is taken on the same day by everyone all around the world. Now, I've got a question on exam. Will be MCQs or case-based? It's not. The exam is not multiple choice. Full details of the exam will be made clear in good time for all registered students. But as you are asking now, the examination is an old-fashioned closed book exam. So you get the exam paper, you'll open that either physically if you're in London or online if you are outside of London. And some of the questions, it's in 2 parts, short form questions and long form. Some of them will ask you to describe something, to interpret something. There's no multiple choice in the exam. The online module tests are multiple choice. There's 20 multiple choice questions in each online module test. In fact, let me move on to the next. I'll just move on to, I'll come back to that. There we go. There's the 5 modules. After each module, you'll get an online multiple choice test, which you need to pass. 1 failure is allowed, and then you need to pass that, because all 5 module tests have to have been passed in order to be eligible to sit the exam. Okay, so generally students, in most cases, students will take their test as soon as it's opened up to them, at the end of each module. So they're multiple choice, but the examination is not. It's old-fashioned writing answers based on, as I said, assessment, interpretation, opinions, the rationale for any views you have. Okay. Will the result at the end of the module test count at the end of the program? No, the module tests are just to check progress, and we want you to pass them to demonstrate that your progress is sound, but they don't count towards your final mark. I understand there's 1 retake upon failure. Is there also a retake to try to obtain 80%? I've never been asked that.
There isn't.
But there's no reason that you couldn't be allowed to sit the next exam. We've never been, no student has ever asked, can I sit the exam even though I've passed this one? We've never been asked that. If you were looking to get the distinction, there is no rule on that, but I suppose, let us walk away, let us take that away and think about it. I can see no objection to that, because it would be a brand new exam you're sitting. Jeff, you wanted to comment on that?
Well, yeah, just to say, so everyone, if you do get, for those who get 80% or higher in the final exam, you get a BTRM distinction. And that's on your certificate as well. So I can understand why you're thinking, you know, if I got 75 or even 79%, then would I be allowed to retake in order to get a distinction? It's a really good question, and that's something I suspect Moorad, you and your faculty colleagues will
I'll have a
probably
chat with
discuss.
Chris. I'll have a chat. It's not something that you or Neil would probably want to get involved with, but I'll have a chat with Chris about that. The thing is,
Well, I suggest that the people that are that determined to get a better mark might want to pursue the diploma instead.
that's a good point. We do offer the diploma option at no further cost, which is a dissertation, which would then give you another certificate with diploma on it. Only a small handful, a handful of students have ever taken the diploma, but that's a good point. Thank you, Ed. I should just say, like most UK universities, we don't actually issue percentages. It's either pass with distinction, or fail. So if you got a pass, you wouldn't know if you'd got 79 or indeed 61, because the pass mark is 60%, sorry. So you wouldn't actually know that. But I'll have a think about that. I can see no objection to someone who's already passed it sitting the next exam. I can see no objection to that. But if that comes up in any cohort, we will address it, certainly. What's the pass rate? I understand you can only take the exam once. If you fail, you'll have to register the course again, full cost of the course. Most certainly not. No, if you pass, you are entitled to one retake at no extra cost. If you fail, if you fail, if you fail, you will be automatically registered onto the next cohort's exam, whether you want to retake it or not. In our case, I don't know any student that's not retaking it. But that's, of course, your call. There's no extra cost. You will be automatically registered in the next cohort's exam. And where we've had students that have failed and taken on the next one, they've always passed. The pass rate is very high. On average, per cohort, it's only ever a handful per cohort that have failed. The pass rate is very high. Jeff, you'd probably explain that as, it's just a very interesting, enjoyable course and people are motivated.
Well, I think also, so, the CFA, for example, they have not quite a quota of, of people failing every year from around the world, but it's a big challenge. It's a real challenge, all three levels of the CFA. This is different. And we do have the end of module tests in order to make sure that if there is anybody struggling, then we can help them. Because the whole point of this, similar to one or two other professional qualifications that you can take, the whole point of this is that you acquire the knowledge and skill set as you're going through the program. And we, in terms of the faculty, do everything they can to help you to do that. And the portal is a part of that. So people share opinions and questions and so on the BTRM portal, which are answered either by faculty or other BTRM students from around the world. But it's not something that we intend to fail people, that we intend to have a quota of people to fail. Not at all. Yeah. We want you to, by the end of the 6 months, to have a really good, solid understanding of everything that's covered on the syllabus.
That's a really good point, and that's a really good point. Thank you, Jeff. Really good point, and I want to emphasise that. Without naming any names, I'm not naming any professional body or academic body. There seems to be some sort of thinking that if there's a very high failure rate, some sort of kudos, some sort of bragging right. I'm the opposite. A high failure rate or a low pass rate indicates to me not necessarily that it's difficult, but the students are just underprepared. They've not necessarily been taught properly. They've not been able to engage so that they really understand the topic. To Jeff's point, we want our students to be able to take what they learn and apply it in their day job so they are better and more effective and respected in their day job. A high failure rate would not achieve that. So I'm the opposite. I see a high pass rate as a bragging right for BTRM. So it is very high, and I think the students are very motivated and they are taught very well. Okay. Raneem, hopefully that's answered your question. The exam, the exam is open-ended questions. It's closed book, open-ended. They are discursive. They are analytical as well, but you are writing the answer either with paper and pen if you're in London, or online on your desktop. It's not there's no multiple choice in the examination. None of them multiple choice. What is the pass rate for the exam? The passing grade is 60%. Now that's my bragging, right? When we originally did this, we set it at 60%. Most academic qualifications, the pass mark is 50. R1 is 60 because we want our students to really understand the topic. There's no concept of scraping a pass with the BTRM. Whether you got the distinction or not, a BTRM certificate represents or it reflects a student that has worked very hard and really understands the topic. I missed the response to my question above. Will the result of the end of the module test count? No, it doesn't. So David, no, the online modules don't count towards the final exam. Just the examination counts towards it. Okay. Right, that's been answered. Thank you. So forgive me, Ed, you've answered it. What is the written exams like? Is it like a research type report? No. I suggest, Jeff, maybe if you can somehow, if anyone is interested in what the examination looks like, why not drop Jeff an email and he will send you a couple of past papers and you can see what they look like. It's difficult for me to answer that because some questions have a 20-mark question might say, what do you think are the key challenge and issues that a credit risk manager has to face? Open-ended as you like. 20 mark. I mean, that's a 3-4-sided essay you're writing. On the other hand, you can have something very specific like, list 5 benefits of having a credit rating. That would be a short form answer. Okay, so it's difficult for me to answer it. Some answers might be like a research report, and others might be a straight numerical assessment. Here is a balance sheet. What's the liquidity coverage ratio? Here's the interest rate risk profile of a bank. What do you think it's? What's your opinion of its interest rate risk it's running? You see what I mean? Okay, that's great. Great. We will carry on. Let me just go back on the slides that whoops, wrong one. Let me just go back on the slides that I skipped. Conscious of time here, but it's always great to have these questions. So the BTRM journey we are on. We've talked, if you look at the bottom of slide 11, about the online tests, what they're there for, the pass mark, the exam. I've got a question. Suppose one fails the first attempt at a module test. What then? You get a second attempt. You get a second attempt at a module test. That's correct? No more than 2 attempts at the module online, right, Jeff?
Yeah, but you do get a second attempt, even a third attempt with regards to the module tests.
Okay, right.
And with the help of faculty if needed. So again, this is all about making sure that that you're educated by us and that your knowledge about the module that you've just taken is up to the standard required to move on to the next module. So we will help you. That's a guarantee if you fail a module test.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Diljeet, so what I have to type the answers when taking exam? Yes, correct, because being a global qualification, you can imagine we might have 50 countries represented in one cohort. The exam's got to be taken all on the same day. So it's online. If you are outside of London, you will, in your own time, within that day, within the UK time zone hours of 24 hours of that exam day. So obviously in your time zone, the portal might be open to you earlier or later. You will be at your desktop, your laptop, in anywhere you like, at work, at home, on the beach, and unlikely, but I agree, but fair enough. And you would sit the exam at your laptop or desktop or PC, and it will be typed in. You'll be typing it in, correct?
The vast majority of people who go through this program are not from London. Okay,
correct. Oh yes, very vast majority. We might have 100 students on a cohort, and 5 of them are based in London. It's as extreme as that. Most of our students are on any one cohort are from out around the world, which, by the way, is for me, when I look from the students' learning experience and the conversations that are held on the student forum, the online forum, that's a great learning thing for all the students, because a bank in Papua New Guinea or in Malaysia will have different market conditions. There's a lot of similarities in banks, there's universals in banks, but they also are all specifically unique. Each is unique. A bank in London, a bank in the Dominican Republic, I'm just naming randomly places where students have been based, a bank in Kenya, a bank in Peru, a bank in Poland. They'll all be slightly different, and seeing the questions and the discussions that other students present on the forum is like learning, because you can see that actually this topic, it has its core essence to it, it has its universals, but each bank is unique in its own right, and that's also great learning for the student when you see how other banks do things. Okay, right, so I can move on from this slide. Accreditation, I mentioned the Association of Corporate Treasurers. They have recognized and endorsed and accredited our qualification. The CISI I mentioned as well. The American Bankers Association. American Bankers Association do not allow anyone to use their logo for any reason, so hence there's no logo on that one, but it's, take my word for it, they have certified this and accredited as professional learning. If you look on the website, there's a large number of testimonials there from past students. I'll leave you to read those in your own time. I'd like to show you the one that here we go. This one at the top. Of all the testimonials that we receive every cohort twice a year, and they're all very glowing, and I'm honored to read them. I love reading past students' experiences of the BTRM. This remains my favorite, this one. James Haskell, he was a cohort 2 or cohort 3. He was at Santander at the time, long time ago. He went on to Atom Bank. I'm not sure where he is now. He was an early student, cohort 2 or 3, as I said. And look at that. I really like the way that one would learn something at a lecture and then go back to the office and apply it next day to the day job. It was that practical and relevant a course for practitioners. That remains my favorite endorsement or testimonial of all time, because that was exactly what we were trying to achieve when we set this up. We wanted people to attend a lecture, learn something, and go and apply it in their day job. That to me is, I don't think I'll ever get anything better than that. And I've had some very nice ones. So that's one of our favorites. Okay. Delivery. So we've mentioned the online forum. Anything you post on the online student forum, you're guaranteed an acknowledgement within 24 hours, certainly, but the faculty should be getting back to you within 2 or 3 days on any queries you've got. The live lecture, they're recorded as well. You've got the PowerPoint slides. We do illustrate, in many cases, different lecturers have a different lecture style, different faculty teach in their own way. A lot of them, myself included, will use real world examples to illustrate issues. Sample templates and spreadsheets are available in some lectures, but they're also on the core textbooks website. We will often have ad hoc webinars. BTRM is not just a professional qualification teaching body. We also are part of wider industry learning and knowledge transfer. For example, next Wednesday, you might want to log into this. I think the details are on LinkedIn. You might want to register for this. Next Wednesday at 6 p.m. UK time, we've got a hybrid event. It's in person, it's at Canary Wharf, but it's also hybrid. You can log in online. It's a conversation between me and another faculty member, Kevin Liddy, where we're going to be talking about the bank's derivatives XVA operating model, target operating model. Okay, that's beyond a webinar. That's now actually a in-person event. It's a seminar. So that's one of the ad hoc things. In September, we've got a gentleman called Patrick Reed. Look him up on. He trades for himself. He's one of these people that trades FX markets for themselves. We have him talking about what are the key takeaways of macroeconomic data. That's a webinar. So it's an ad hoc webinar that students also will, of course, have access to, but also the wide general public are also invited to them. The lifelong learning library I've already mentioned. So now the detailed lecture breakdown is in the brochure, but it's also in the appendix slides for this presentation. Okay, we've got 5 modules, very roughly: balance sheet management, treasury operating model and governance, strategic asset liability management and financial markets, capital markets, then liquidity risk, and then capital management. There are some standalone lectures like recovery planning and credit rating process, and what else? The SREP process, the supervisor's review and evaluation process, the regulator's on-site review. These are standalone, so we kind of park them within individual modules. So you might have in module 5 a lecture on business case writing, as well as one on SREP, but also, thank you very much, Ed, but also the capital management lectures as well. So standalone lectures have to find a home, so we chuck them into one of these modules. But the general content is as described on slide 18. Lecture one is in 2 parts, 1A and 1B, and that's the pre-course. It's not pre-course, it's part of the course. It's in week 1 of the course, but it's the primer. It's just to make sure that everyone's on the same level of experience and understanding before we kick into the lectures proper. The faculty, as I mentioned, are not just highly experienced practitioners. A large number of them are also highly esteemed authors. I don't necessarily count myself in that, but I certainly count Polina Bardeva and Michael Eichhorn and Beata Lubinska, who are all amongst our faculty. And you've got a sample of their books there on slide 19. So our faculty are practitioners as well as published authors in this space. What could be better than getting a lecture on ALM optimization from someone who's actually written a book on it? A lecture on reverse stress testing from someone who's written a book on it? A lecture on managing ALM best practice from someone who's written a book on it? Again, this is different from my professional learning experience, whether it was GARP or CFA or the CISI or Premier, where the person delivering the lecture hadn't published in this area and hadn't necessarily worked in this area either. No disrespect, but this is where you get the real learning. Someone who's published in this field, has worked in this field, and is now giving you the fruits of their wisdom. Okay, right. Now, I'm going to hand back to Mr. Brown. Hold on, Omar has... righto, thanks, Omar. Jeff will get back to you and have a good evening. Right, I'm going to hand back to you. So if you want to just click on take control, Jeff, and the slides will be back with you.
Okay, not quite sure how to.
Should be on your top right.
Yeah, I know it should be, and it was, but for some reason it isn't. But anyway, that's okay. Moorad, I'll prompt you to go on to the next slide.
Okay,
it's only
sure.
a couple of slides for me. BTRM alumni. So first of all, just to mention that when I first came on board, I made it my mission to contact as many people everybody who had completed the program. That was basically my aim, in order to find out what they thought of the program and what their experiences were of the program. And the response was genuinely pretty much unanimous. It was extraordinary. So it was thrilling to know after all these conversations that that I'm responsible for a program that is genuinely helping people in their day jobs, or helping people to get into a particular job within this space. I'm responsible for that as well, incidentally. So it's called the Employment Service, the BTRM Employment Service, which is available for self-funded delegates only. For obvious reasons, we don't want somebody who's being funded by their organization and then being helped by us to move on to a different organization. That wouldn't be very fair on the organization at all. But for self-funded delegates, the Employment Service is incredibly comprehensive. We've had a couple of people from the most recent cohort who've graduated. One who was from Colombia and wanted specifically to work in Poland. So we've got them interviews from a bank based in Poland, a bank's branch based in Poland actually, but their headquarters are based in the Netherlands. There's another person who we helped and they've just landed a role in Luxembourg. So we start, I'm veering slightly off this slide, I'll come on to it in a second, but I just want to mention this. So we start with your CV. It's a very competitive arena. So the CV, you have to get ahead of the field. Otherwise, the HR recruitment person is going to put your CV in the bin. They select, let's say, 10, even less than 10 CVs, so your CV has to be up to scratch. We help you with that first and foremost. We then help you with interviews. You need to do, if you're up against, let's say, 5 other people, again, you need to get ahead of the field. So it's massively important to do as much research and reading as you possibly can. The job spec is in a way, the least important aspect of job opportunities. What you need to know is how the role fits into the team that you're going to be working for, what the team's function is within the organization that you're going to be a part of or that you want to be a part of, what are the strategies and the objectives of the organization or the objectives of the department, the strategies to meet those objectives. So we take you through all of that and also being proactive, contacting people who are working in the role that you're interviewing for, whether at that bank or at another bank or another financial institution. Get in touch with them to find out what it's like to work in that role, or getting in touch with the desk head, massively important. What are their expectations of the team members within their team? So it's very, very comprehensive. We're extremely proud of it, and you deserve it. If you're self-funded and you're paying money to attend this kind of learning opportunity, then it is our responsibility to help you get from A to B or A to C or whatever organization you want to get into. Okay, so we would strongly recommend you getting in touch with alumni either from your organization, that would be great, or alumni from your country or region, which can be incredibly helpful to find out what their experiences of the program are. And incidentally, you'll see that I don't just send you one or two people. I send you the email addresses of everybody who's taken the BTRM from that country, because that's how confident we are that whoever you speak to are going to have really good words to say about this program. Or alumni working in similar roles to the one that you're working in or to the role that you want to move into. Moorad, can you move us on to the next slide? So the study partner program is really helpful for those of you who do want to study with somebody. It can be with anybody really from around the world, preferably in a suitable time zone. But it can be a lot of fun to do that, and it doesn't just have to be two of you. It can be a few of you. We had from a bank in Chile. In the last cohort, we had 6 people from this bank in Chile enrolling onto this program, and they studied together. They were study buddies, and they found it incredibly helpful and informative, and they exchange ideas and so on. So we would strongly recommend you do that. Just get in touch with us once you've enrolled, and we'll put you in touch with somebody either from your organization, from your region, or working in a similar role. Moorad, can you move us on, please, to the next slide, which might be, this is the portal. Do you want to talk about this?
Sure, by all means. Although I have introduced it already. So we have the student forum, which is your online forum for conversing with the faculty and with other students. There is it's set out that it's per lecture, so if you wanted to have a question on a specific lecture, you would click on that part of the link and it would reference that lecture. You could just post on the general forum any general observations or queries. This is, we think, very useful for students because it substitutes the fact that this is online. You know, you don't get London-based students can meet faculty when they are in London, because again, not all, less than half the faculty are based in the UK and actually come in to do, my lectures will be in Canary Wharf in London, but a lot of them won't be. But even those, so that's a handful that are in London and can deliver in person, but all the others, overseas faculty, deliver online. So you don't really have that connection with the faculty or indeed with other students that you would get in a traditional university where you are attending classes with other students and the lecturer is right there in front of you. So the forum is a way to make up for that. You can contact. You just drop a line in, you post a comment, a question, a challenge, a query, an argument, anything at all, and the faculty will engage with you via that, and of course other students will as well. And we've had those conversations go a long way. Often a question will be asked of a faculty member, that person will answer, another student gets involved, they then carry on a conversation, they exchange ideas, they exchange. Just recently we had a student who had published a chapter in a book on ALM 10 years ago, giving the PDF for his chapter to another student because they were talking about that topic that he'd published on. So the forum is very helpful for all students and goes a little way towards replacing the fact that there's no face-to-face contact with other students and faculty the way you would at a traditional university. Back to you, Jeff.
Okay.
And that's pretty much the end of the slide deck. In the appendix to your deck, are you going to make this recording and the slides available to everyone, right, Jeff?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and so we just break down all the lectures there in the 5 modules And I guess it's been nice to have the questions throughout, which is always nice in any kind of presentation rather than necessarily waiting for the end. So that's my presentation done. Jeff, if you want to say any other words, I'll just say thank you for your company this evening, everybody. If anyone has any questions now, please ask them. Otherwise, very welcome. Otherwise, Jeff will be happy to take your questions by email subsequent to this presentation. I'll hand back to you now, Jeff, and thank you, everybody. Have a.
Sure.
Oh, hold on. Hold on, we have got some things. Let me just go through this. I understand one can effectively stage the regular 6-month BTRM, but deferring to the next cohort at the midpoint. So I feel I must not understand the value proposition or caveats of the 2 times 3 month staged option. Doubly so because committing to the full course seems akin to early exercise of American option. Yet the brochure claims that's the most popular option. The idea of describing it, thank you, Alan. The idea of describing it as stage 1 and stage 2 was just to enable students to pay instead of paying all up front. They would just spread the cost of paying the fee. So you pay for stage 1, you pay half the fee with any discounts included. There are different discounts available depending on when you register. And then when you get to the second stage, you'd pay it. It's not anything to do with the structure of the program or the way it's delivered. It's just to do with the fact that you don't have to pay all of it up front on day 1. In fact, you can break the payments down into more than 2 halves as well. Some students, particularly in emerging market economies, they might pay 10% on day 1, 40% halfway through, and then the remaining half at the end of the first half. So it's only to enable a breakdown in how the fee is paid. It doesn't impact the teaching or the structure of the program at all. I hope that's. I don't know why it's the most popular. I can only surmise that because instead of having to pay whatever the fee quoted to you is, X thousand on straight away to register, you might be able to pay the X thousand in 2 installments or in 3 installments or indeed in 4 installments. That's the only reason I can think why it is the most popular option. But that's just my surmise. I don't get involved in that stage. Would you know why it's the most popular option, Jeff?
Well, it's just as you say, to enable flexibility, and there are different
flexibility in payment.
In payment, not in the learning journey of the program at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, if you look on in the payment section, there are 3 different options, and there is the option to pay for the first half of the course and then the second half of the course. Anybody who's got questions about the payment options, just send me an email. We can have a chat as well to talk things through in order to clarify any grey areas you may have. So, yeah.
To be honest, I think that when this was first introduced, it wasn't my idea. It was the business development people who did this. I would have thought a better way to do this was not to describe it as stage 1 and stage 2, or just simply say there are flexibility in payment procedures. That's it. I don't think we need to describe it because it has no practical relevance, but there is plenty of flexibility as to how you pay the fee, whether you want to pay all of it on day 1 or split it into 4 installments during the 6-month period, or in anything in between. So it's not, I mean, that does cause some confusion, and it's if I had my way, I would just remove it. I would just say, here's the fee, but we're very open to discussing flexible payment options, a bit like a hire purchase agreement or something like that. Someone raised their hand.
I think the way I'm reading it is, I think Alan's more interested in this idea of being able to do stage 1 in one cohort and do stage 2 in the second cohort, which is a possibility for people that are sort of swamped by work and that kind of thing. But Jeff will be able to back me up on this. We encourage people to not do that.
I've never known anyone to do that. I've never known anyone to do that, actually. But you guys would know better. Chris might know better. I've never known anyone to do stage 1 and then do stage 2 of the next cohort, defer the exam. I can see no objection to that. Maybe Alan, if you want to drop an email to Jeff, he'll have a conversation with Chris, who runs our the ops side of things, and they can come back to you on that.
It is more common for people to start the program and then midway through the program, for one reason or another, as I was explaining earlier, either for personal reasons or work commitments, they might want to defer to the next program. That's something else. But it's true that the majority.
I've only thought about people deferring the exam. I suppose there's no reason one couldn't take the first 12 lectures, or whichever the number is, and then don't attend it anymore. And then when the next cohort starts, take the second half's 23 odd lectures, 3 weeks, 12 weeks of lectures, and then sit that exam. I've
It's a
never
question
known
of continuity as well. Though,
yeah,
isn't it? I mean,
yeah. I've
it
never known.
breaks, you pick something up 6 months later after not having. So if you studied the first 3 modules and then
You wait 6 months for the
decide you
next 3. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Then it breaks the continuity a bit.
But in theory, at
it's
least,
doable.
I can see no objection to that. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions from anybody? I saw someone raise their hand. Did someone still have a raised hand? No. Okay. Right. Well. Oh no.
Hold on.
Wanted to check if the curriculum is focused on a specific set of products on the balance sheet or specific institute line credit studies. Very good question. Thank you, Kuhn. Very good question. The program, the syllabus is not focused on any one jurisdiction. We emphasize a lot of Basel III guidance for bank balance sheet risk management because that's universal, that's worldwide. There's a handful of countries that don't follow Basel II or III, literally a handful. So we emphasize international guidance on regulation. Many of the examples might talk about a European bank or an American bank because of the background of the faculty member, but we don't teach anything that is specific to only one jurisdiction. Okay, so that's something we don't do. What students will, of course, if you're based in Switzerland or in the US, your implementation of Basel III liquidity is slightly different to a bank, say, based in Malaysia or in the UK. So what we would emphasize is the core part, and then it would be up to the student to go away and get to grips with their own area, or indeed they can ask us, because then we'll go away and do it. You know, I've been asked questions on how is the US implementation of Basel III liquidity different to the UK, for example, and I've gone and found out about it, and we've answered that question on the forum. We don't target anyone. We have a hypothetical vanilla commercial bank that we use to illustrate situations. It's not a specific institution or type of institution, credit unions, a retail bank. It's commercial banking, and we define banking in lecture 1. It's commercial banking. We don't emphasize any one type of organization over another. We certainly, and because the BTRM, most of our students don't come from large, global, systemically important banks. A large number of them do, but not the majority. We don't emphasize only what's important for the systemically important financial institutions. What we teach is what's universal to every bank. It's a core background. And of course, we'll also highlight where relevant variations in that, but there's no one specific area or specific set of products. No, it's all about the core discipline of managing a balance sheet, and that core is universal to every bank and whatever type of institution it is. Colonel, since I'm new to Treasury, we're past time, but I'm happy to talk with you guys. Since I'm new to Treasury, I wanted to check if I can come over and meet personally to understand if the program is suitable and would be beneficial to me. Well, I mean, if you wanted to meet with Jeff in person, I'm sure he'd be very happy to. He's based in France, but occasionally he's in London. Depends where you're based, Kunal, but drop him a line and he will explore that with you if you drop him an email. Okay. Do we have any other questions or comments?
Look, the objective of this information session, hold on, thank you for the session. My question is related to the LATAM chapter. Is this part of the program for students from this region?
Absolutely, 100%. The Latin American chapter is specifically for students from the Latin American markets. There's a very slight variation. There is only one standard BTRM course, but the Latin American chapter has some specifics to it relevant to the Latin American market. There's a core program. All students sit the same BTRM training lecture program, the one that's in your brochure.
So, yeah, the objective is to give you a really thorough overview of a really good feel of what this is about and the benefits of the program. I hope we've done that. If there are any holes in your knowledge, then either give me a call. You've all got my email address and my contact number. Give me a call if you want, or send me an email, or we can arrange a discussion. And in the meantime, I hope you leave feeling that you know whether this program is for you or not. That's what we want, is for you to decide, okay, it's for me or it's not for me. Thanks very much for attending, everybody from all over the world. Thank you very much, and feel free to get in touch whenever you want.
Thank you. Have a good
All
evening.
the best.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.